We were given good instructions.
We can put out an email on your behalf. Hi, Laura, how are you? Perfect.
Morning, Joe.
No, that would be perfect. Thank you.
Do you wanna look?
Okay.
Seems like there's more people than that in here, right?
Real quiet, they say there's an angel in the room.
Guess that's Cooties. Steve
Actually,
does.
well,
Alright, me. Nobody wants to sit.
I think, I thought Jim was coming up, but maybe not, since I'm gonna talk, so.
Oh, there he is.
Is it not to you?
Okay.
We'll be happy to send it to you.
I don't want him there. Oh, okay. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. This is our workshop, dated August 8th, 2023. Make sure you sign in if you haven't before you go. And again, we are being, taped and live on on Zoom. So, if you have a question, statement, comment, please make sure you state your name and department or where you're from, so you can be recorded for the record. Okay, we have,
Mr. Cantala Mesa,
yes, here,
Mr. Malloy,
here.
Ms. Frenchco.
Okay, number one, dispense with the minutes. Number two, approve the bills. Number three, transfer monies, Board of DD.
So, they, on.
Martha Yoder, auditor.
Sorry, Martha Yoder, auditor. So for number three, this is Board of DD, they're transferring to their capital reserve fund, and it was approved by their board. So they're transferring that $5 million to their reserve. I'm just gonna keep moving.
Number four, additional appropriation.
Right, so there's, both of these are for adult probation, but they're two different grant funds. So there are additional appropriations for these grants, and you'll note that on, going down to, number 6, that these match with the amended certificate of resources, so or estimated revenue. So I'm going to get that, but those two match that. Number 4, additional appropriation, number 5, transfer appropriations. So for probate, remember, these are money that's already been appropriated within that fund. We're changing just line items within the fund. So for probate, they're fixing an over budget. They're moving from public defender to probate seminars and training. There's 2 Board of Elections. Both of those are fixing an over budget. Both of those are operation supplies for furniture and fixtures. And the reason we're kind of guessing that they're separate, because they were on the same day, is that they're 2 different invoices, so that's what, she made the transfer for each invoice, to match the invoice. Adult probation, this is modifying a grant. They're taking social services to gasoline, ammunition, computer software, and computer equipment software. Eastern Court, they have a donation. They fixed over budget, communication equipment and consultant to, office supplies, and Board of DD had a transfer of social services to computer service and software shredding and recycling services. And just a reminder, for the Board of Elections and Board of DD, they both have their own boards. We're just journalizing what they've already done. Already covered the amended certificate. Number 7, we're creating Office 365 fund, known as Fund 740, for our use, and this is being created to account for payments of the monthly Office 365 subscriptions. So then we'll charge them back to the different departments We talked about earlier, I think it's 2 weeks ago, we talked about the rollout. We're starting more of that rollout. I think our next one that we've started is with, Veteran Service Commission. Their board voted to approve that. So we've got a purchase order already for, their licenses for that, their subscriptions, and we needed to have a fund to be able to pay it out of, and then we'll get it back from them. We'll charge them for that. And then the final one is a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the tax levies, certifying them to the county auditor. You should have a worksheet on that, and, unfortunately, I forgot to bring that up. I was really concerned about getting ARPA stuff ready for you, so I didn't bring that up with me, but you should have that in your packet. It's basically just certifying the inside millage as well as the levies, the countywide levies, like the DD and things like that.
Okay. Thank you, Martha.
You're welcome.
And number 9, concur with Trumbull County Engineer for special annual supplier fleet permits for RT Vernal Paving and Excavating, Hard Knocks, Shelley and Sands, Forenchex Trucking, and Ray Brothers.
Yeah, this is Steve Gerberry from the engineer's office. These are just routine, renewal annual permits for these companies.
And number 10, right-of-way permits to A&A Construction, ASW Pipeline, Brightspeed, and Everstream Solutions.
Stephen Gerberry, again, with the engineer's office. These are, routine right-of-way permits. There's a driveway access for A&A Construction, ASW Pipeline. They repaired a natural gas leak. Brightspeed and Everstream, for installing fiber throughout the county. And, Brightspeed is in, North Road in Howland Township into the Whispering Meadows condo development. And then, Everstream was installing, some fiber equipment on North Levitt Road near Eagle Creek.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Number 11, approve personnel action for employment of Mr. Darren Mancini for the full-time, non-bargaining position of Office Administrator with Trumbull County Building Inspection Department effective August 14th. Pay range 11, 5 years, based on experience and qualifications, at a rate of $31.57 an hour, and serve a 120-day probationary period. It's pursuant to our job posting, and he has successfully passed pre-employment and drug screen. Mr. Selinsky?
Commissioners, Mike Selinsky, Trumbull County Building Official. This is in response to, tragically we lost Tom, one of our members, and this is a replacement. I would note that this is a non-bargaining employee, so this would be part of the management staff. We had 71 resumes. We set up a matrix, scored them, and Mr. Mancini by far scored the highest. We look forward to him starting with us, and he's much-needed replacement for the Trumbull County Building Inspection Department.
Okay. Thank you. Number 12, Trumbull County Planning Commission is requesting the Commissioner's clerk advertise for competitive sealed bids for the furnishings of all labor, material, and equipment necessary for and incidental to construction of Trumbull County Planning Commission building roof replacement project. This is in accordance with ARP funds and their guidelines, and the advertisement will be paid from Fund 001, 011, 1000, 1010, 1, 555001, as we published one time in the Tribune Chronicle on Friday, August 11th, and on demandstar.com. The recommendation of the Planning Commission, and in coordination with Trumbull County Chief Building Official and Maintenance Department. Julie? Julie Green, Planning Commission.
Sorry, Julie Green, Trumbull County Planning Commission. So, I understand that the commissioners, have set a moratorium on funding ARP projects. So technically, since a resolution has not been passed for this particular one, it won't be required until the contract is awarded sometime probably in September. I wanted to bring that topic up to see if the commissioners are willing to say that this one can move forward. Since we did pass the resolution approving it for engineering in April, And so we are at the point where we are ready for the bid to be advertised and for the project to move forward.
Move forward to our legal?
No,
No,
the council's already
Okay.
received the front-end bid document. The ARPA attorney, it's my understanding, said that she was not going to review
Right.
or provide a resolution, which is a template resolution I'm willing to draft and send over, move things forward in September if necessary. But it's my understanding that the process is you pass a resolution when you award the.
Mrs. Yoder, did we already appropriate the funds for this, or just for engineering?
No, we just did the engineering, and maybe Mr. Misaki can also weigh in on this. This is one that I have noted to talk to you about today, because it's one that, the engineering was already done for, and we had $297,000 total, allocated for that, and it's part of the total that we'll give you today. And we spent a little less than $30,000, I think, on the engineering so far. The overall cost may be higher than that remainder, it probably will be higher.
The opinion of probable cost is $400.
Okay. This was one that I want you guys to look at and consider moving into either the revenue loss category, if that's feasible, if that will work, get an opinion from the attorney on it, or possibly even making that a capital project and borrowing for it. That's something they're gonna have to decide throughout this pause as they start thinking about things. But those are our options on that.
Yeah, I understand, but I would like to state that I've lost a lot of productivity in the office based on in the various,
Right.
Last 2 years. And so I feel like this is an emergency project that needs to move forward, but of course, it's my understanding of projects to consider. I would just really advocate that this moves along, even if we advertise now, we have a bid opening on August 31st. We have 60 days to award a contract, as stated, I believe, in most technical documents. And so, even if you are needing to delay it, to award it sometime in October, and Billy can chime in on this and tell how that affects construction season, but, I would ask that you consider this, because I've spent weekends in my office cleaning up. Nick's office is unusual for.
I don't know that ARPA is the quickest route for emergency funds, Mr. Slinsky, your opinion?
Mike Zelinski, Trumbull County Building Official. I just wanna shed light on what Julie's saying is we gotta get that front end stuff done so we can get it to build. This is a roof,
Right.
it's weather, contingent. You gotta give them 90 days to put the roof off, take it off, put it back on. So you need to make that award in September so we can get it built this year. You know, we had the same thing happen to us last year with the Board of Elections roof, and it's still not put on because of bidding irregularities. So I just want you guys to be cognizant of the time it takes to get these projects to bid, and I think that's what Julie is saying. Let's get to a position where we can award it. At that time, you have the decision to move forward or not. You're not, dedicated to the project until we actually make the general action to award the project.
Mr. Misaki?
Yeah, Jim Masaki. Julie, I know you sent the prosecutor the plans and specifications. Has he gotten back to you yet?
He said he would have them back to me today. I spoke with Bill Danzo on Friday.
I spoke to him yesterday.
Okay,
And he said if they are in fact the same plans for the courthouse,
correct.
that he has to go through it and make sure they're the same plans. I mean, same
Right.
basic,
Yeah.
bid package.
Yeah, he mentioned to me, I spoke with him Friday and asked him what his timeline was, and he said he would provide me with feedback.
Well, I mean, you don't want to bid until he's got that approval though. You could authorize the bid and not
We
go
can issue
forward.
an addendum,
Yeah, and not go forward.
yeah. Again,
I
I'll
don't wanna
Make my
delay you,
issue.
no, I'm sure, that-
I'm more willing to do paperwork than to lose more productivity because of the condition of my office. And you were there this morning.
Auditor Yoder, what do you think's the fastest
Well,
way?
I can't speak to what's the fastest, but I don't think that there is a problem with, going forward to bid on it and figuring out what's the fastest as we go along. So doing those things on parallel tracks, letting Ms. Green go forward with her bid process and checking to see if we can put it in revenue loss
right.
in order to free up more money for projects. We are also, as a reminder, we're working towards borrowing money, or probably borrowing money, for the other two roof projects. So that borrowing, you know, we're in the process of setting that up so that we can do a note. But did you have something?
I'll wait till you go.
But, so I don't see a problem with this particular agenda item and moving forward on it, but keep in mind that you need to get that information, or Mr. Masaki needs to get that information as to whether it's a project that can for sure be moved into that. And then you guys will need to decide if that's what you wanna do, or if you wanna do it through ARPA, or through the project part. That's gonna be you guys' decision, and I'm not sure that either one of those is going to be faster than the other.
But this does say in here, in the wording, if we went through with this, it does talk about American Rescue Plan funds. So I don't know, I don't wanna say that and then we do something different if we journalize this is what we're doing. Julie Green?
Bill, please explain.
Bill Hart?
I'm waiting for
I
the
was
agenda.
just trying to.
Okay.
So Commissioner Bill Hart, Trumbull County Maintenance, I already applied for ARPA funding, which Jim knows, there's a cost already been established. There's been not a check written, but the numbers are in your line items, correct, Jim?
Right, that's correct.
But they're a little bit low, just,
Yes, right, because we didn't know the condition of the roof
right,
actual until we did samples and testing that occurred a week and a half ago
Right.
or so. So there's already been a line item already for like, what was it, 200,000?
297,
297.
that included the
question would be,
engineering.
I guess, to the commissioners, is how do we supplement the difference?
Well, I would say, yeah, you could do other funds, or you could just increase your funding from the ARPA when
From the revenue loss.
when it's bid, yeah, either one.
Well, the revenue loss would be for capital projects.
Yeah.
Has she already determined that it was eligible for revenue loss? Was that her initial determination? I don't
Well,
have access.
all these county projects are, that's what they.
Right, and when I say, I
It's
just,
already been approved for revenue loss.
No.
But I mean, typically, all these types of projects where we have capital improvements
Right.
are buildings, like
Okay.
roofs and all that stuff is covered under revenue loss.
right,
Would be eligible for that
Would be
category,
eligible.
not some.
Typically, I'm not saying it is.
other-
But I'm more along the lines, if we're doing the other roofs the other way with a note, I would rather lump
right,
them
but
all in one thing.
I'm going to tell you, just because of,
That might,
we have the other roofs,
what if the other funding?
we have the other roofs sort of in the pipeline here, but the timeline for those is probably going to make that take longer. And I honestly, when I look at our timeline on borrowing, I think probably,
The roof we have will not last through this winter.
I think, I tend to agree with Julie that maybe it's probably better to do it from one of those pots. Okay.
Revenue loss would be the
Right,
part we
yeah,
want to do,
yeah.
obviously, because it's gonna take away from the other.
When
projects.
I have some notes on this, and we'll talk about it more, we'll, mention it again, but when I wrote these notes, I wasn't as fully comprehending the direness of the situation. So, but when I talked about possibly borrowing, I do think probably, of the three options that you have, right, the borrowing would take the longest.
Yeah, it's Jim again. Yeah, my only concern, Julie, is if you're going out for a bid and people come and get the specs, if they're not approved, that's the only
I'll
problem.
issue an addendum. I'm very good at paperwork.
I'm just,
Commissioners can rely
I
on
would
me
caution
for
you
that.
on
I understand.
putting out a bid.
It's the same bid document that was prepared for Michael, for the courthouse. There was no issue.
And Bill Danzo did say if that in fact is true, then he could.
We've used those front-end, Mike Selinsky, Trumbull County Building, we've used those front-end documents for courthouse projects, phase 1 and phase 2. We've used them, we bid the part of the Fair Board projects, the paving and the roof, same front-end. So there's 4 of them that went through, that I have personal knowledge of.
Okay.
And those are the front-end specs that were sent to Stroller Architects for preparation of these documents.
Fine, well, that's good, that's good. I wouldn't be as concerned about the funding source, you know, as far as borrowing. I would use ARPA monies, you know, revenue loss, or the other traditional category.
I think we'd use revenue loss.
As long as you have that, you know, run it through, Attorney Rogers.
Yeah.
And she won't provide a determination, commissioners list them or providing that, correct?
Well, we have a stay, a pause.
We can, for this matter, since it is an emergency.
I think you can ask that.
I think by the
that
time we're done talking with Martha
That's-
today, that we might be able to lift that a little bit after
Well,
we.
And I have some recommendations on it specifically and what I think you guys should do, but I don't think asking for that opinion as to whether we can move from something that's already been allocated from one column to another is, you know, any violation of that pause. It's something you've already, it's a project you've already
Right,
said that you wanna do.
it's already been approved.
And I thought that was the case. But already has been.
And I do think we are dotting every I and crossing every T. When we look at what Warren's doing with the ARP money and how Mahoney County appropriated it, their process is much, much simpler. They're not going through a Tanya Rogers on everything they do. And they've had no questions, they've had no audits, they've had no findings. I mean, there are communities all across America, and I would say we're probably in the top 5 to 10% of scrutiny on what we put into it to make sure we're also legal compared to the whole rest of the
Right,
America
well, and we
that's
all,
doing this.
Martha, you're our auditor, and everybody who receives this money we have reporting requirements, and, we're following those. I do think in some ways that our process, the complication of the process has actually made it harder on some of the things that Mr. Masaki and I have had to figure out over the last couple of weeks. That's probably made it a little bit more tough. And we've had, projects that we have allocated money for are close to 60 projects. So that's why things get so confusing, and we've got a lot of moving targets. I really would like to wait more till
Sure.
But to answer that, I think revenue loss would be the category we take it out of, and I think the commissioners are on the same page to move forward with that. No, because it's already approved.
All right, good. Thank you, I appreciate it.
So, do we need this resolution at all, or do we scratch this from the agenda?
I think you can leave it. And then the only thing I would say is I would just make, it's still ARPA.
ARPA fund.
It's still ARPA, I would keep it as is, but I would also, and Mr. Masaki can make that inquiry with Attorney Rogers. And just to clarify, just to be on the safe side that we're moving it from one column to another. And we've made a few of those kind of inquiries on that.
Get that answer, I guess, then we'll.
Either way.
I don't think it's gonna be an
Or it should be modified after the fact.
Okay.
You know, you could do it this way and change it later.
We're on the same page then?
Yep.
Yeah.
Very good.
And I have no problem taking any sort of negative feedback.
No.
Move forward and we have
Won't be
to
any.
modify. I know the concern, so that no one just,
Number 13. Rescind journal action dated August 2nd, 2023, Journal Volume 156, page 25886, authorizing the President of the Board of Trumbull County Commissioners to execute the 2025 Ohio Department of Transportation Office authorizing resolution for the Ohio Department of Transportation 2025-5310 grant application. We're rescinding something, why?
Because you're not allowed to sign that
you can't
document.
sign it.
Okay?
Is Mike on the phone?
Mike Salmon, are you on the phone? Star 6 if you are.
Said he was gonna be on the phone. Mike, are you on the phone?
It was 2 minutes. I can answer for him. We're rescinding, last week's agenda item for the authorizing resolution, and when I read through the resolution language, it was not proper for you to be signing that form. It said on the bottom of the resolution, it was a recording secretary, recording agent for the county, which would be Paula. I confirmed that with Kiera at ODOT, and she confirmed that, yes, it should be Paula that is given the authorization to. The next agenda item, number 14, is giving that authorization to the clerk to sign the authorizing resolution for our ODOT grant.
Okay,
Commissioners?
there you are, Mike.
Yeah, I couldn't unmute originally. Yeah, right, this was also approved by the, prosecuting office. It's in actually paragraph 3, where we had to take off, Commissioner.
Mike, we can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Mike.
Mike,
Just louder.
Can you hear me?
speak into the
Or-
receiver.
I'm-
Maybe now.
Hello?
Yes,
Better.
now we can hear you.
Very
Okay,
good.
sorry about that. It's Mike Salmon, Trumbull County Transit. Yeah, Diane's correct. It's in paragraph 3, we had to take out Commissioner Malloy's name, add in Paula's name. So, paragraph 3 reads, the, signed duty qualified and acting clerk, Paula LaVote Clock, of the Trumbull County Board of Commissioners, certifies that the foregoing is true and correct, and a copy of the resolution adopted is a legally and meeting of the Trumbull County Board of Commissioners, and then they put in today's date. So that's what's gonna happen. The problem was, we had Commissioner Malloy's name in there originally, and it's supposed to be signature of the recording officer instead. So that was what the problem was. That's why these two, agenda items are on here.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that.
And Diane, you wanna state your name again for the record?
Diane Dracovic, Senior Levy Administrator.
Okay. All right then, so that takes care of 13 and 14. Number 15, authorize the engineering firm, Burgess and Nyepel, 100 West Erie Street, Painesville, Ohio, to provide the technical service listed below with regard to Blueprint Phase 2, Water Improvement Project 2, W19, located in Braceville and Southington Townships, and enter into an engineering agreement with Burgess and Nyepel for said professional service in the amount not to exceed $434,540, to be paid from ARP Fund number 077-011-1000-1,001-505610, per recommendation of sanitary engineers.
Morning, Commissioners. Scott Berner, Sanitary Engineers Department. Yes, it's an expansion of the Blueprint Phase 1 project, roughly about a $2 million project. It's going to start at Braceville Robinson, extend along, State Route 82 up to 534, reconnecting to the services to, provide the design.
This is a project that's, I think we've had Braceville Township trustees talk about it, the extension of the Blueprint project and how important it is. Wonderful that we got, the first phase done, but the second phase is just as important because people need that, clean potable water, in the other areas. I wanna thank you and thank Gary and your department, spearheading that.
Yeah, no, you're welcome.
Glad we can help with ARP money.
Yeah, that too, obviously, but, yeah, this is,
Public health
been a
is,
lot of interest in this project. It's just very costly, so when it's available, it helps it.
but those people in that area 10 years ago never thought this was possible.
Sure.
And as the diligence of your department, that we're able to get water out to those people that desperately need it, so.
Also interconnects the system, so it kind of reinforces your grid, so.
Thank you, Scott. And there he is.
Okay, number 16, to concur with the Trumbull County Senior Services Advisory Council's recommendations and the Senior Levy Administrator for distribution of senior levy dollars for community senior centers and authorize distribution to the agencies as listed for a 2-year period commencing September 1, 2023, ending August 31, 2025. Amounts to be awarded as follows. 23 to 24 for 1 year, $619,704. 24-25 for year 2, $619,704. 8-hour center, $156,860. Family Community Services, 6-hour centers, $393,932. 4-hour centers, $68,912. And Diane?
Thank you, Commissioners. Diane Kovic, Senior Levy Administrator. We had our bid opening in June, and the Senior Services Advisory Council Subcommittee for the Senior Center reviewed the bid, looked at how the current senior centers are utilizing the funds in order to make their determination. So the changes that were made based on what was bid, we have 2 new centers that are entering the county. One is going to be up in the Kinsman area. They requested to be a 4-hour center, and they were awarded as such. The Hubbard Scope Center is new also to our funding cycle. They requested to be a 6-hour center, but because they're new and we don't know if they will fully utilize those funds, they were awarded or recommended to be awarded as a 4-hour center. And, yes?
That one.
Kinsman is under the 4-hour
Oh, I see,
center.
I'm sorry.
And, they're operating, Country Neighbor is going to operate that center. And this is the first time Country Neighbor has been a senior center in our county. They've done other services, done it very well. So we're looking forward to what they can do for the Kinsman folks. The other changes, McDonald is an operating center. They had requested to be a 6-hour center, but looking at their past recommendations or contracts versus what they were using, they're like going to be barely over half. So we still award them as a 4-hour center. Then Girard has always been an 8-hour center, but based on their utilization for the last 2 years, they have used only $60,000 of their total contract of $71,000. So to keep money from being left on the table that way, the council recommended that they be awarded at $61,000, which is slightly over what they have used the last few years. I had recommended more, but they came up with the $61,000 that they wanted.
You recommended more, where did you get that?
Well, in our bid package, we allowed $625,000, but you can see that you are only, the council is recommending $619,000.
Right.
So there's another possible $6,000 that could be added to that Girard Center to bring them up to where I had recommended they be.
Yeah, so this will be just duplicated 2 years in a row.
We have members of the multi-gen center here.
Hi,
Introduce yourselves or whoever wants to speak.
I'm Laura Carey. I'm the administrator at the Girard Multi-Generational Center. And, I know you're very familiar with our center, and I'm sorry, Mr. Malloy, I haven't had a chance for you to come. We have invited, but you, with your busy schedule, that hasn't happened yet. I have put together some numbers for you, if you want to take a look at that. So we have been serving Trumbull County seniors since 2001. And our center, we have people from all around the county that come to our center, especially for supportive services, because we have a licensed social worker that provides those supportive services. The people that come to our center on a daily basis are not just from the city of Girard. They're also from Liberty, McDonald, Weathersfield. We also have some regulars. Those are the people that come every day or a few times a week. We also have some from Cortland, Howland, and a few from Warren. So we are serving greater than just the Girard area. And in the first 7 months of 2023, we've already provided 469 individuals with services. So the two charts that I put together for you, and I don't know, there is two, if anybody wants to see those. The first chart shows, so since we have been receiving reimbursement for services from the county senior levy since 2007, and in that first year, we received $90,000. I just kind of recapped the actual reimbursement rates, or the awards that we have received, that all of the centers have received in the last 6 funding cycles. And then I'm comparing them to what is recommended for the 2023 to 2025 program year. If you look at those awards, we received a 25% cut when they changed the way that they were reimbursing senior centers in the 21 to 23 funding cycle. In the 23 to 25 program year funding cycle, we're looking at another $10,000 cut. That's a 35% cut in funding. And if you look at the second chart, you will see this, I just focused on the award amount given in 2021 to 2023, the recommended amount for this year. We are the only center that was getting a decrease from the last funding cycle. And every other center is getting up to even $51,000 more. I mean, you can see the decrease and increase in there. So the yearly recommended decrease from what we bid, which we bid at $78,430, and that's the last sheet in there, that's our bid from our thing. So that would be a $17,421 cut from what I believe that the services that we can provide and will provide. 35% funding cut for the next 2 years certainly threatens our long-term sustainability at the center. Now, the reason given for the funding decreased at this level was that we had low usage, and we were not able to bill for all the dollars allocated in the funding cycle. It is true that we were not able to bid for all of the dollars in the last funding cycle that we bid for, but that doesn't necessarily equate with low usage. Over the past 2 years, we have added new members, we've added new programs, but because the method of reimbursement changed in the last funding cycle, it's no longer per person, per service provided. Larger urban centers like ours, who have higher attendance, were punished financially in the last funding cycle, because higher attendance at programs no longer meant a higher reimbursement rate. So we're not getting paid per the people that are coming in the door. We're only getting paid per program. So despite the fact that we have more people coming in the door, we're not getting reimbursed at that rate, which is the standard rate for federal funding for senior services and the state.
The committee's recommendation to do that?
So,
When they looked at the usage, the only 2 senior centers that did not use their current contracts was Girard and McDonald.
and
If you're gonna ask for the whole pie and only eat half the pie, why would we want to award the whole pie?
Why, and my big question looking at this, why does Farmington get a $50,000 or $40,000 increase? I mean, why?
Farmington was at $34,000, their current use is at $65,000. They requested $56,000 to to move up to a 6-hour center, and that's what they're getting.
I mean, but I'm looking at the last award they got was $16,676.
No, they had an amendment to their bid.
Oh,
Two different-
sorry, I took those from the actual,
They were a 4
the contracts that we have.
Okay, so it went from 34.
Now they wanna be a 6-hour center, and their programming, their new administrator has been providing programs that will fill the 6-hour center.
It does, I see your point, you're the only one that took a cut, and you took a $10,000 cut where,
How do you call it a cut if you didn't use the funding?
So if I, please may address that. So when I was calculating my, unit rate for the last funding cycle, you're looking at the number of programs you're providing, how often you're providing it, that type of thing. I believed that we were still going to have a 5-day-a-week, year-long program at our center from the Trumbull County Office of Elderly Affairs, their meal program. So that's a lot of units of service because we used to have that, but it never came during this funding cycle. It didn't come back to our center, and it's now been discontinued. So, and I did try, some of the other centers were able to negotiate with Country Neighbor to come up with alternate meal programs at their centers. And I worked very closely with Barb Klingensmith there. She told me it was just basically because of the distance between where they do food prep and my center, it wasn't feasible to add that.
what about Jewish Community Center, they're Liberty, aren't they?
They are in Liberty. I have not had discussions with them as far as doing, congregate meal programs. I do understand that they are doing, home delivered meals.
Yeah, but not.
So that, from what she's saying, is that $10,000 you were awarded last year sitting in the bank somewhere still, or was it spent?
It's sitting in our.
Oh, we only get reimbursed for,
Oh, they get reimbursed, so it is, they're not.
it's a reimbursement. So I don't have that money. So I already lost that money, and that was, again, after 13 years of funding, at a different reimbursement, way of reimbursement, and that, again, nationally and statewide, adjusting to this new funding formula, I will have to say it was difficult, but in preparing the new program year 23 to 25 bid, I, took into account that, yes, we're also adding additional programs for that year, but since they've made some adjustments as well to this funding, to the funding in this program, so now the Levy Advisory Council has made it, as long as you have one person show up at a program, you get paid for that program. So I am fully confident that every dollar of that $78,430, we will be able to get reimbursed for, because the programs that I have planned for, will definitely meet that qualification. And I also believe that our rate is the second lowest, our unit rate is the second lowest for all of those senior centers. So I believe that we're giving the Trumbull County Senior Levy, a better value. And I know that our quality of services is good. And like I said, I fully believe that we would be able to bill for and provide the services, the vital services to the seniors, at that rate. But even if I'm not gonna get the $78,430 that I bid on, which I fully believe that I would be able to spend, I'd at least say, please don't cut us more than at least last program year's funding. I mean, if you look at it, we really are the only one that's getting that huge of a cut.
And I guess, I'm looking devil's advocate here again, let's do this. As far as the 6-hour centers go, the amount you're getting right now is still more than all the other 6-hour centers. And if you were up to the rate that you were asking for, that would put you about $15,000 more than all of the other 6-hour centers. Is there a difference, is there that big of a difference between the number of people that go to Girard compared to Niles, or let's say Cortland? The other, I'm sure Farmington and McDonald are probably a lot smaller, but Niles and Cortland, as far as numbers of people that are served, are you compatible with them, do you know, or Diane, do you know where they would rank with that?
Diane Zakovic, Senior Levy Administrator. Other review factor that the council looked at was, when you look at the programs that are being offered, because we get a schedule, we have a calendar that shows what each senior center is going to do, and we also get the participation at each of those programs. In looking at the participation of all the programs being offered, the disappointment came that at Girard, when you looked at the number of hours that people were participating, it was generally only about 3 to 4 hours a day of people being there doing these programs, the calendar programs. I know another big program that they do have that is a little different than any of the other senior centers is their gym. So people can go all day to that gym, but it's not considered a program in the past. It will be a program in this new cycle. Thinking about, I'm not done yet, thinking about all of the concerns here, in my opinion, increase that difference between the $619,000 being awarded up to the $625 that was available within the senior center cycle, so that would add another $5,000 to $6,000 to the Girard bid. It would still keep us within the legal limits of the bid package of $625. The other thought I had was, at the end of the first, we didn't do this last cycle, but at the end of the first year, review who's under, who's overutilized, and maybe move funds around between contracts for those that are that requested the pie and are only using half the pie, that we could move the money after the end of the year to a center that is, that would take an evaluation of all the centers. Just be Girard looking at to give them more funding, which is.
The one that's still glaringly jumping out at me is this Farmington, even though they're going up. That's
They
a
went
big jump.
They went up from a 4-hour center to a 6-hour.
I understand that, but
Because
those
of all
extra
the
2 hours,
programming that they're planning.
for those extra 2 hours, they're getting triple the budget of what they had before.
Last year, the utilization based on what they bill, they bill me what they do, and then I'm only allowed to pay according to the contract. They are projected to be at a projected use of $65,000 at Farmington. That's above.
So they've grown 4 times in 1 year.
Girard use of $60,000. Yes, they have a new administrator out there, she's been very proactive with their programming. She's been an amazing, manager as far as somebody new coming in and creating programs that are interested, that their general population is doing, and they're there.
I will say this, and just, I gotta be completely transparent. I've been to Girard Multi-Gen Center so many times, with Laura and with the group that's here. And I've been to other centers too, but what they're able to provide there across a wide array of seniors and scope of services and, amount of different communities that I talk to that are there, ones that are participating in this. Like you said, Liberty, Niles, there's a lot of different individuals from a lot of different places. I know how people feel about that center because they tell me, and I know the work that they put into it. I think a 35% decrease in that center is not doing it justice at all. That is one of our first and oldest centers that's been a staple in that community for so long. So I couldn't support these numbers that are right here. Diane, maybe the 6,000 will help, but I think in order to make them whole, we need to get them to the at least the 71,000, correct?
I mean, I can live with it, I wouldn't be happy with it, but at least
Well, I that wouldn't be a 35% cut.
It would not,
Right.
it would not be.
And that's something I'd support, to get us back to
I would agree
71.
with that too, bringing it at least to where you were before. The budget backwards, and I can see the passion, I mean, that that you feel you can spend this money in good ways, and I'm sure
That community
all these
rallies
programs
around
are
that
great, but-
center like no other center, I'm sorry. And that's my opinion, but I will say that. And I've been to a lot of the different functions and a lot of the different things that you put on, and those seniors rely and love that place. They absolutely do. Not to say that they don't in other places, I'm not saying that. I just know firsthand that community has had that center for so long, and it's just become an institution over there.
And if I could, and I appreciate that, if I could, we really do, we are there 8 hours a day. Yes, every senior center has their own, kind of culture, because it's an extended family. My seniors prefer to come to programming in the morning, so I try to put a lot of programming in the morning. But my social worker, who is also my program director, meets with and provides supportive services for seniors all day long. She has appointments scheduled all day long. We also we have 2 workout rooms. We also have added pickleball, so we are the only indoor pickleball provider from a senior center in Trumbull County. Those are afternoon programs as well. So, that runs till 3. We are providing. I know that because a lot of the programming we do, with instructions is in the morning, but we are there and we are doing, we are still serving
Some
the
of that other programming doesn't count towards some of that stuff, like you said. I mean, in other words, the gym and what you're able, now it will in this next coming cycle, as you said, your programming, but for a while there, it didn't, that doesn't mean that that people weren't coming there and enjoying it,
So we offered, in the last programming cycle, they came up with, the advisory council came up with different types of programs, categories. One of them was called, solo programs. So if someone comes into the center and they go use the gym, that's considered a solo program. We offer a lot of solo programs, what they were considering solo programs in the last funding cycle. However, we were capped at, they said, you can only bill for up to 3 a day if you have 12 people participate in solo programs throughout the day. So some days we were not able to hit that mark. There were days that we surpassed that mark, but we couldn't bill for the extra programs. In this this funding cycle, the advisory council has changed the rules, again, for that. And so now my gym is going to be considered under a medical program, but I can only bill for that per amount of time, even though people can come and use it all day long.
Right.
Because I have to construct it into a program now, which is gonna be confusing to my users, because they have to come in and they have to sign in, and they're gonna say, am I doing morning gym, am I doing afternoon gym? They just used to hit the workout room. So it's just a little different, but again, I totally understand the way that this is being funded.
Well,
And I believe that we would be able to provide every unit of service, every program unit of service that we bid for. So I appreciate your.
Can we come up with a way to get them back up to 71, then after year 1, since we have 3 new centers and 1 change in the center, reevaluate next year to see how much of year 1 these other ones used, and maybe be able to readjust for year 2?
Bring the whole total up to 625, because we have available to bid.
Bring 625, that's still not gonna bring up to 71. Find somewhere in here where you can do some math and,
Oh, and
I want them to be,
Bring them
I want them to
up
be
and
at
do
71
someone
again, as Morrow does.
yeah.
So we gotta come up with $10,000, a little under 10,000.
Let me just say, I appreciate what the committee does, and it's an advisory committee, and usually we take their advice. But in a case like this, where this is a 35% hit here that a center's taken, and no other center's taken it,
can we
I just think it's,
put this agenda on the next week then?
Yes,
So I
of course.
can work numbers,
Sure.
because I can't just simply come up.
No, I understand, I don't want you to just pull out of your head, but I would say, look at some of the new ones or the increased ones, and maybe shave just a little off of those, and at the end of year 1, If we find that there's money left over in one of them that they're not utilizing, then we'll readjust for year two. Although we will vote to do a 2-year program, we can amend that program based on need. I mean, one of them may fall off, there may be, you know, apparently, you know, no other centers could sign up for the next 2 years, right? So, then based on need, at least of what we have, then we can readjust, and maybe we find that one of them, like Gerard, maybe utilizes more. I really think this is a matter of different directors budgeting different ways, accounting different ways, and we're not comparing apples to apples. That I think there's maybe some apples and oranges in here, because it sounds like the usage may be there, maybe more in some than others. If some people are just better at accounting or better at crunching numbers, you know, like a Julie Green would be, that doesn't mean she should get bigger pies, bigger slices of pie, because she's better at it.
No more for you.
Is that agreeable? Is that okay, Diane? I don't wanna, I mean, you are the director and...
I concur with my colleague, Commissioner Malloy. I think that, we need to look at a way to make up the difference to the 71,000. We appreciate what the senior levy is doing, not to mention that they're not accounting for, you know, how they're billing as far as the national and standards, or not.
National and
You know,
state
they made this
standards.
change, and I understand what they're trying to do, and I understand that the committee works hard and tries to find the best ways possible. But at the same time, when you make a drastic change like that, and the commissioners aren't involved necessarily in that, that gives me pause. So I think at the end of the day, the 71 would be fair.
I don't wanna set a precedent of use it or lose it, like, I don't want these communities to say, you know, hey, Gerard lost money or didn't get increased because they didn't spend all last year, so make sure we budget this in, or make sure we fudge the numbers to make sure we show we spent everything. What we want them to do is, it is what it is, and if you can increase, or any of these centers can increase services they provide, that's a good thing, but we don't want anything falsely done that way. We wanna set a precedent of, well, we gotta make sure we spend it, or we're not gonna get it next year.
Right.
You know, we don't wanna pigeonhole money away or anything like that for the future. Use it, and it is what it is. And apparently, you've made a very good case, you can use it, so that's where I think
Agreed.
I would ask Diane to go back to your board and say that we'd kinda look this over, that they can give it a second look and try to do this. I think that's fair.
So you're recommending Gerard at 71,003, which is what they had last year, or as requested, the 78,000?
71.3, this time 71.3.
This time, okay.
Is that okay with you?
I greatly appreciate it.
I think that's fair.
I think.
And that is an accounting thing too, for you to talk to some of the other directors and figure out how they bill their time, and try to make sure we're on the same even keel with a Niles or someone of similar size to you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Billy Martuccio, City of Girard, City Council, Council at Large, and I wanna thank you all for your consideration. This multi-generational center is very important to our community and the surrounding communities. And just as an example of things that probably are not billable as usages, I've been there, people have come in with their cell phones, can you help me figure this out? And, you know, whoever's the secretary or Laura and our licensed social worker will help those people with their phones. I had a friend who's a recovering stroke victim, and I brought her in and with the social worker to see what services were available. She's only 65, fortunately, you know, unfortunately, that happened, but, the social worker spent well over an hour with her, and, on my own personal observations of these services that are provided, and the camaraderie, and the community.
The events, and, for those, I mean, I guess I am plugging it, but for those who wanna go check it out, I mean, it is a model center. We have so many dedicated volunteers and working, and their seniors, truly, that's a part of their community, that's a part of their daily ritual, that's a part of what they do. Julie lives in Girard, she knows the importance of the Girard, multi-gen center to that. As does Bill, and.
They're gonna be old someday.
Yeah, Let's hope you're not there anytime soon. I don't know.
No, she
Could go, I'm a five generation.
Bill, we need you for a lot more years. And Julie.
Nothing. You're right.
No, but it is, anybody who wants to go see a great senior center, please go out there. They're dedicated, and the seniors absolutely need it and enjoy it and love it, so.
Okay, so we will table that till next week, if that's okay with you, Diane?
That would be great.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you all
Thank
for
you,
coming, too. Thanks for participating.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 17, to accept and award the proposal for professional services as submitted by Sexton and Associates Architects, to provide the technical specs for Trumbull County Stone Building repair and upgrade in the amount not to exceed $500. At a request of Bill Hart. Bill?
Commissioners, this is from last week's, for the professional service of Saxton to go ahead and get started to advertise for RFQs for 17 and 18, which is the highway group, so we can get those two.
Perfect. And then this is something I wanna address that real quick, because I did talk to the county engineer last week. You know, I don't want anyone to think the roof on the highway building is not a priority, not a concern. I mean, there are trucks housed in there. It does service the northern part of the county. Winter's not here, so I don't want them to think that we don't assume that it's not gonna be a bad winter, or they're not gonna get service. And for the public also, I mean, we will service the northern tier of Trumbull County. I mean, we will find a place, if not here, we will find a place for the trucks. The guys will still be working. They're not gonna sit at home and not plow the roads because they don't have a building to park the truck in at night. I mean, that place, although it's not utilized on a day in, day out basis with a whole bunch of employees, and we're not utilizing the building for safety reasons now, it is a place where the trucks are maintained to be kept warm and ready to go, you know, with the hydraulics to that and the diesel engines. You know, it takes a while to get them up and roaring, and when we get a bad snowstorm, we want our crews to be ready to go, and ready in a moment's notice. We'll work as a board, if the roof isn't fixed by then, to find places for them and work with the county engineer. We've got a lot of places in the county that we can put a truck or two if need be. But I don't want anyone to think this is put off or blown off or it's not a priority. You know, we were questioned last week, by the media a little bit, I think unfairly, that, you know, like we didn't care the roof fell in and we're just not gonna plow the roads in northern Trumbull County. And that scare tactic didn't work, and it's something that we will find a way, you know, as a board of commissioners, to work with the engineer if that becomes a problem. I know they only have so many buildings, but, if we see or foresee that that's gonna be a problem, you know, the plows will be on the roads, the guys will be working. It's not gonna affect the performance at all, and I'm sure the highway engineer would side with us that, you know, those employees take pride in doing their job well, they're good employees, and that they'll be on the road servicing the constituents. So, we'll move forward with both of those. Number 19, notify Ohio Department of Liquor Control that a public hearing is not requested on the application for Bezetta Mall LLC. And recommend too, if anybody is in that area near the campgrounds or takes a ride around Mosquito Lake, that new Bezetta Mall, the people there did a fantastic job of refurbishing that building. I mean, it was a dive before with a crooked floor, and it basically was an eyesore for the neighborhood. I commend whoever the owner is of that building for doing what they did there, enhancing it, and it's a pretty neat place. You know, they got some sandwiches and lottery and, you know, all the essentials if you're gonna go camping or live in that neighborhood. So, they did a good job with that, and they're back in business, so appreciate that. Number 20, authorize Board of Commissioners to join with the Trumbull County Prosecuting Attorney to file an application with the Court of Common Pleas for the appointment of Jeffrey Goodman as legal counsel for Board of Commissioners of Trumbull County and the Trumbull County Engineer Randy Smith in connection with the recovery of money from former employees of the engineer's office who received CDL training at the county expense and left the county employment prior to fulfilling their obligation. So basically, I guess, we had some people that, we trained them, and they didn't stay for their term, and they owe us money back for their CDL training.
There's no additional cost for this, he's already working for the engineer, so there's no additional cost associated.
Okay? Okay. And that concludes our regular agenda. Before we get to that, Martha, I got a couple items I wanna go over. First, I did talk to, Frank Migliozzi with the health department. They came to an agreeable price on the bank building in Cortland, and the Board of Health will be working independently to move forward on that purchase. There'll be no cost to the Board of Commissioners, no maintenance due from us, and I wish them the best of success in this. I think it's a great deal for, the Board of Health employees. They put up with bad conditions for a long time, and I really hope this deal goes through. And it's gonna be a benefit to the city of Cortland, and a benefit to the county and the citizens. Ones that gotta get septic permits, things like that, to not have to come down into the city, and, to go to Cortland, to be a lot closer to the outlying areas that have septic. And Bill, one of the things we're gonna have to do is start looking at, if that happens, utilization of their current building. I know we're paying rent to some other buildings to store equipment and merchandise and stuff. I think the bank building or something, we have some auction items or some storage on the floor we're doing.
Yeah, cold storage.
Yeah, maybe we can get out of that and get it into our own building, not have to pay rent there, if we do. I don't know if we do or not there, but
It's just,
it's our building too? Okay. But we'll find out the best uses for that building, so we don't create a blight or an eyesore, you know, in that neighborhood. You know, we wanna be good neighbors and continue to maintain our building. The engineering roof I touched on, you know, that is a priority. 911, Stacy, you've had a week under your belt a little bit, and we had a good meeting last week. I'd like to schedule a meeting with you then, if we can, to go look at the other potential new building for 911 that was brought to our attention. And, when your schedule allows, you and I can get together afterward and schedule a time maybe with Mr. Hart to go look at it.
Did you get the meeting request for Wednesday?
I think I did, I guess not, I guess I didn't lock it in yet, but I remember reading something.
We're already penciled in,
If we're penciled in, then we're good to go, then. That's why I have a scheduler, keep me in line. They started painting in the basement, made a few modifications, looks great, Bill, and, I have the quote for you on furniture for you to look at from AVI. I don't know if I've emailed it to you yet or not, if not, then I will. And, tomorrow, I just wanna make sure we're good to go for me to sign an agreement with them, so they can start a move-in date, for that, and a grand opening down there, no cost to the county, to provide spectacular lunch service for everybody. And then dog pound, do you have an update on the dog pound? Because we get a lot of questions on that.
Just, I think we covered it in the last meeting, but, so the opinion that was given by Mr. Danzo and Mr. Toth, regarding some of the questions we asked as far as, land and, would it be a lease, would it be a donation of the property, all those different things, all those legal logistics that we need to work out. They did render an opinion that was given to, the Animal Welfare League's attorney, who in turn was gonna, discuss it at their next board meeting, I believe, or with the board, however they're gonna do that. I don't know if it's an executive session, I don't know what they're doing, but he's gonna relay it to the board, and that's where we are right now. So, at the end of the day, I don't think a lease would be something that would be, palatable for the county. I mean, it could be legally doable, but I think a donation of the property, if the Animal Welfare League would be, more inclined to do that, would be the right route to go. Obviously, that would defray our costs significantly. We just worry about construction. Again, we've gone over the benefits of having that facility right nearby, the Animal Welfare League, and the collaboration that we can have with them would be, phenomenal, and there could be some cost-saving measures, there could be some shared services that we're talking about. all those things we're discussing. Some of them were touched on in the legal opinion, so, we look back, we just look forward to hearing from their board, basically, and their attorney. So the ball's in their court right now, and, see what they come back with.
Okay.
I'd like to get this thing moving, though, if that's it, and Bill and I have been diligently, on this for a little while now, as far as different sites, and we've exhausted a lot of different options here, so we're nearing completion to this, or at least seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. We just need the green light to move forward, and we need those legal ducks to be in a row, and we can bring them down.
Okay, Commissioner, also, next week, I believe, and I need to have you check Amy, they have the groundbreaking for the, Warren Development Project. We did a resolution on last week's agenda, commending them for that, and I believe the groundbreaking is next Tuesday morning at 10, same time as our commissioners' meeting. The governor will be in attendance, and
Or same time as our,
workshop.
yeah.
And Mr. George invited the Board of Commissioners to attend for that groundbreaking.
Okay.
Being that we did a resolution, I think we need to have representation there.
Mhm.
I would plan on being there myself. I
I'd
don't
like
do
to
it,
be there, yeah.
be there also, but if Amy, if you can check that for sure to see, I know I saw it in an email somewhere, and I know the date was brought up, but if we can look that up or make contact before the meeting's over.
Well, if it is Tuesday, do you wanna move Mr. President, do you wanna move the, meeting back to Monday, or do you wanna have it later in the day that day, or?
I'm thinking later in the day, if we could.
Okay.
So that would be the 15th.
You think,
Well, we need to find out the exact time of this, and maybe 11, and maybe 11:30, maybe 10:30. But maybe as we continue discussion, Amy, you can go and check with the regional chamber, real quick, or check with their office over there and see when exactly it is. I know I can scan through my emails, it's in there somewhere, but, you can look into that a little bit, and then we'll have the exact, and then we'll make that modification.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, there's also something, invite from the tractor club.
Oh, yeah, this
That's
is,
for a regular meeting.
that's for regular meeting, and they were looking at the regular meeting for next Wednesday.
Yeah.
I really don't know, with all we have going on with the video system and everything else right now, if that's the,
We can do that at any time. I mean, I think they'd be welcome to have us there. We don't have to do it next weekend, so if they can find there's a lot going on in the office, an alternative date,
Okay.
maybe even later on in the summer, at the end of summer or something.
that would be good.
they were doing it ahead of, because of a show from the 18th to the 20th.
Do that.
Do
It
it
could be
ahead
after
from,
that.
Oh, yeah.
I'll let them know.
I would like to attend out there to see what they have and stuff, but
Very nice.
We've had it out there before.
with the regular meeting, with now with the video system we have here, there's people kind of rely on that a lot now. And I hate to, not have that capability. We just did that for one meeting that we had, and,
The fair. We did it, excuse me, Martha Yoder, auditor, we did it for the fair.
yes.
All we were able to do was a recording, and that's
Right.
probably, given the internet capabilities in that part of the county, it's probably what we would only be able to do for that meeting.
Right.
We talked about that earlier in the summer.
Okay, anyone have anything else for the greater good of Trumbull County besides ARPA stuff? Save that for last.
I just wanted to follow up on last week's meeting regarding the solar farm survey. I'll restate what I mentioned at the planning commission meeting this morning. Our staff is going to send an electronic version to the zoning inspectors. The hard copy survey will be sent to all, county trustees, officers, and we'll ask that they return the survey in a timely manner within a week.
I was just gonna say, maybe it'd be beneficial to some of those townships, I don't know if they know, especially some of the smaller ones, if we can include in that they have the right to, as townships, for the small farms, small wind and solar farms, explain the difference, but this is for the large. I'm sure you would have put that in there, but a lot of them aren't aware of the law that came about.
Yep.
the rights or the jurisdiction that they have as townships, to limit some of that stuff on their own.
Yep.
So if we can include that in there, that might be.
Yeah, we'll include that in the cover letter,
Okay, thank you.
and I did.
And Julie, I would also put in your cover letter, get an opinion if they think we need to have a special meeting, or we think we need to have a forum for all the townships, an educational forum on solar and wind farms. That might be something that, to bring them all equally up to speed and equally educated, to make a better informed decision.
Okay.
And we may wanna do that and bring some people in to speak on it and talk about maybe what some other areas have done. Maybe we can involve a state rep or a state legislator to educate us on what's going on statewide. But I think if it's that important, we might wanna host a forum for that.
Okay. Do you want that as a survey question, or just include it in the cover letter?
It's somewhere where you can get a feedback on whether they think it's
Okay.
essential or not. 'Cause we may have a township say, we're uneducated on this, help us.
Yeah.
That's something that we know then,
Right.
rather than have them give an opinion or vote on something they're not up to speed on,
Right,
and just throwing a vote out there, I'd rather them be educated first.
okay.
Auditor Yoder.
Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, just as a recommendation for, any kind of forum, working with the Township Association on that,
Yes,
because
Yeah.
they would be very helpful, I'm sure.
That's true.
absolutely. Maybe we can key in one of their meetings and the commissioners host it, and the topic be that.
Yep.
That might be a little easier than,
Yeah, 'cause they're already all there, basically.
Most of them.
Most of them.
There are some that don't, and those are probably going to be the ones that you just,
I don't think they're back having meetings until
September.
yeah, maybe, yeah.
Well, and that, relates to the discussion, wait until everybody provides feedback and do the process all at once, because it is an involved process that has to be taken through your office. Or do you wanna move forward with the ones that like their entire town perspective?
I think if they've gone through the, exhausted and said, they've already come out and said, look, we want our entire township, eliminated from this. I think we can start on that.
and we don't know their education level. They may be all up to speed on, they may have all talked about it at one meeting or not, maybe they haven't.
Right.
Somebody like Vienna Township would want it immediately, we can always amend it. I know there's a lot of work that goes into that, but
Well, it'll be work for your office. Process.
sure.
But in regards to, Vienna Township, one of the things that I explain in the survey is that at a minimum, if they want their entire geography restricted, they need to formalize that in a resolution passed by their body.
Right.
And present it to the commissioner prior to.
Guess we need to fill them in on all that stuff too, and when we send out the survey.
Right.
Auditor Yoder, do we have any update on the festival that starts this week as far as staffing or manpower that we need?
I think we're good. I've got a few more people that volunteered from my office. We did my office last. We've got some buy-in from sanitary, and I'm gonna be working on, finishing up that schedule, but I think we've pretty much got everything covered now between the commissioner's staff, my staff, Alex from HR, and Bob from sanitary.
Okay,
Okay, and so we'll get that. I may need some help from Bill.
and so Bill can have his guys Wednesday afternoon or
Yeah.
Thursday morning over there.
We're, and
Okay.
there's not gonna be that much.
Oh, that's fine.
It's a 10 by 10 tent. Probably everything we're gonna have from my house will be able to fit in my van. I know we've got, other things, handouts and stuff like that to get it over there, but we'll
There's a
we'll
case
talk.
of this van still, there's
Okay,
our banner, the pictures. Lisa, we have things figured out on our end?
Whatever you need that,
great,
that we used in the other booth.
yes, that's what we wanna just
available.
do. We wanna have whatever we had before.
We have a setup and
And-
decorating
and
committee and,
There's lights and.
Yeah, it's a 10 by 10 thing.
It's
It's not
smaller,
gonna be
isn't it?
hard to, this isn't my first rodeo on these, remember? I've done a few booths in my time. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
Between everybody, we'll work together. It's all good.
It'll look good.
very
We'll
good.
make it look good.
Okay, anything else for the greater good of Trumbull County?
Can I ask what action steps, if any, need to be followed up on for tomorrow? So the plan is to have the roof on for Julie Green, Trumbull County Planning Commission, sorry, for the roof project. I know we talked this back and forth, plan is to have it on tomorrow for advertisement, but in the meantime, is there an action step that needs taken care of? I'm willing to take care of it.
We'll find that out a little bit after we talk with Martha and then we figure out what's the next step for ARPA funds.
So there's no, not sure if we're gonna be bidding it out tomorrow.
Oh, no, I think that's definite. We'll definitely bid out. I think that's my recommendation at least. Definitely go ahead and move forward. Our big thing that we need to establish, the only thing that we need to establish, and we can do that, I think, informally with, well, probably has to be formal, make sure that we can move it from one to the other. Yeah, and that's the only thing. We, I think either one of those tracks, either keeping it where it is, and we'll have to increase the amount when we know. And cause it's not as significant as I thought it would be, to be honest with you, if that stays true, that 400,000. But we will wanna increase that on our spreadsheet, so we're accounting for it wherever it is, whichever column it's in. But either one of those is gonna be faster than borrowing rate.
But we have to consult with the attorney.
Well, yeah, and we'll have Jim do that,
Okay.
okay? You don't need to do that. We'll do, I think we can get her to answer us.
That's why I asked for clarification. I don't wanna
Okay.
duplicate effort.
No, we'll take care of it.
Should be a very simple.
We have some other questions that we're probably going to be asking as well.
Thank you so much.
I just voluntold you, Jim, you're okay with that?
You're good.
Okay. All right, are you
If
ready?
anybody wants to leave, you're more than welcome to, and the next step, we're gonna.
Yeah, seventh inning stretcher.
I told you we were gonna go there.
They stole my packet.
Yeah, that's about right.
Thank you. Thank you for leaving.
I will, your senior accountant, to ask about the Amazon thing. You know what, go up and Christie is probably the, she's the consultant.
I will, absolutely.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm gonna attack her.
Okay. I'm gonna hit like.
All right. Thank you.
I don't have any comments.
If I add up, where's 911 and transfer switching here?
I sent an email. Now that I know to go through her. Perfect. Thank you very much.
911.
I had to be a witness in a court case. Somebody sold a house and didn't tell the buyer about it, and don't even know.
I wonder if that number.
Gary, before you leave, while we're still on the record, we're still in the meeting, we had a good meeting in Bezetta last week with water. Where are we at percentage-wise right now, as of today, do you know?
As of yesterday at 4:30,
31.28%.
yes,
Okay.
opposed,
And, they have till the 11th.
yes, until Friday.
Okay.
Some of the larger properties haven't weighed in yet, which would count as a yes.
Right.
In that church,
The church is all, they're all counted as opposed.
right, but the guy, the pastor that voted no, said in that email that he wasn't the
We're
owner.
still good?
Did you talk to the owner?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
It's up to you. If you want
Good
to
enough.
count them as opposed,
Well, if he says-
I count them as opposed.
Well, no, listen, if he says he wasn't approved to sign the
Make sure
petition,
we're-
because he's not the owner, he shouldn't be approved to have a vote. That's just only fair.
Okay.
Because he sent that email to you that, hey, I didn't approve that petition, because I don't have the right, I don't have the signing power,
I gave it to
I'm not the
Celeste,
owner of the property,
he's gonna take it to the
so he
board.
didn't have the right to sign the
I'm gonna have to
petition for
follow
it,
up with him.
which we don't need the petition, we clearly
So there you
established
go,
that.
yes.
So now, in the same sense, then, his vote shouldn't count either, if he doesn't have the authority to request it, he shouldn't have the authority to vote on it.
Unless they
It
get.
should come down to the property
Well,
owner.
yeah, if it gets over 50%, then maybe we'll take that into account.
Well, I'm picking on the guy, it's just what's fair is fair. If he sends an email in and says, take my name off the petition, because I don't have the power to do that, then clearly he doesn't have the power to vote on it either.
more of a courtesy than anything else. We had to run that line down Warren Mead
Correct.
Road to get connected into that, champion system.
I just wanna make sure we're fair with that, that we don't have, you know, you can't have it both ways. You either can sign and vote, or you can't sign and can't vote.
Right. I haven't got, legal opinion from the SOU yet, I'm hoping he'll clarify.
Very good.
Unless something came in this morning that I haven't seen.
Very good.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna continue on with the ARPA talks.
All right.
Auditor Yoder.
You want them to?
Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor. I just wanna, first of all, before I get to my notes and some recommendations, I just wanna explain a little bit about what our process has been through here and how we've come up with the snapshot that we have for you right now, which, even given some of the things that were said today, will change a little bit. Mr. Masaki and I spent a great deal of time reviewing all of this line by line and, trying to, harden some of the soft money, trying to get a better idea of some of these things. And we, actually found some things that were redundant, which means there were some requests that were multiple for the same thing, or things listed that were multiple for the same thing. So that's where this has come up from. And I want to also say that the spreadsheet that you have in front of you is the result of that, as well as Shara from your office doing a significant amount of work. I don't know how many revisions we ended up with over the course of the last week. And also Christy from my office reviewing some of this for the formulas, making sure everything is exactly as it should be. And so we believe that we have a really accurate snapshot for you today. I also want to go over, starting on my notes, go over a little bit of history and a little bit of understanding, just to make it really perfectly clear, not just to you, but also to the public. The counties received a total of $38,454,129 in ARPA funds between 2021 and 2022.
Excuse me, whoever's on the line, can you mute yourself?
Maybe Shara listen.
It looks better, sounds better now, whatever it was. Wow.
Thank you.
Spoke too soon.
10 million of those funds are designated as revenue loss and have greater restrictions in their use. In addition to the remaining $28,454,129, there's $103,164.88 from the Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund, for a total of $28,557,293.88 available for ARPA projects. Of that 28 million, and I didn't correct, I made a mistake here and I didn't correct it. It should say of that 28,557,293.88. I apologize, had some typos and I didn't correct them in both places. But of that total, that $28,557,298.88, $23,211,222.51 has been allocated. See the third page of your spreadsheet for that. $5,346,051.37 remains unallocated at this time, and see the final page of the spreadsheet for that. Of the $10 million, $4,811,610.51 has been allocated. See the third page of the spreadsheet. $5,188,389.49 remains unallocated at this time. See the final page of the spreadsheet for that. Of the $4,811,610.51 allocated in the revenue loss, $4,461,610.51 has actually been spent or encumbered.
So basically, we're just with those two lines,
Right.
That's basically saying we got about $10 million left.
But, the revenue loss money is different.
Understand that?
Yes.
But if we
Right,
shift
totally.
thing over to revenue loss.
Right, well, and I'll
we
get,
can
I'll get to
$10 million.
some of that, and we can also, so you guys can understand the full numbers all the way around. We'll get to that in the notes here, that, because of the things that I think we could shift, we'll talk about those. But a total of $15,747,354,088 from both categories has actually been spent or encumbered so far. And I want to note for the public that every penny that has been spent has had a PO for it, has been authorized by the commissioners. There is a paper trail for every penny that's been spent. So I know that there's this idea that there's no money left, that we've spent it all, and we've overpromised or
Or that's missing.
There's no money
Not the
missing.
case.
There is no money missing. It is in that lovely fund.
Right, no
And
money
it's there.
missing.
No money
Capital.
missing. So, right, people need to understand that there's kind of really four different things here, right? There's money that we've committed to, right? There's money we've actually spent. There's money that's encumbered, right? And there's also projects that we sent in, and we'll get to that too, that we sent in for approval, but we put on pause, right? So there's all these, and that makes it hard because it gets complicated for people, and I want folks to understand and I've tried to make it as easy as I can.
Okay, of the money that's actually been spent, that you talked about here, was there money left over in any of those projects that is going back into the kitty? Okay, so of the money then that's been designated, there may be some money there that's been
Right.
allocated but not encumbered, that any overage that we planned, that may come back into the kitty.
That's,
So it
there's a
doesn't mean-
possibility,
Just
but
for an example.
I'll get to some of the examples. We have hardened as many numbers as we could, but there are numbers, and if you let me get through this, I can show you where I can explain a little bit, where some variables may be,
I'm just
okay?
getting excited when I find more money.
I know, and I don't want you to get too excited, because I wanna make sure you understand the full picture before you get really excited, okay? All right, so the following items, if you look on the spreadsheet, I have like a little column that says 911 safety. There's X's in that column for these four. 911 phone stations at 132,255.24. Mobile command center, 1 million. 911 request for Marks radios, which is 588,
These are the ones with the
821.
X's by them.
Yes,
Okay.
and the Marks Tower is 875,000. And I noted these for two reasons. First, although they have all been discussed and at least informally maybe committed to, only, to my knowledge, only the 911 phone stations have been journalized as far as that commitment. Second, it's is the tower, I don't know if the tower was ever actually journalized.
The mobile command was journalized.
Was it? All right. So, but at any rate, we didn't have all of them, but they all kind of fit in a category, right? And this is the more important part of this. It's my understanding that they might be eligible to be paid for under revenue loss. So these are things that we need to check with, along with the planning commission roof, to see whether we can move those items over to that other column, right?
But all four of those are in one of your figures up above already.
Right, oh yeah, they are included right now in the allocated total, all right? So that's, and the total of those four is, $2,596,076.24. So that's a chunk of money that if they are indeed eligible, if you choose to, we can move those over. And we will, those are on our list now that we've started to clarify with Tanya, with Attorney Rogers, about whether they can be moved, all right?
Perfect.
The total allocated, one thing that the total allocated does not include is the $2 million for broadband that's been discussed.
That's been loosely discussed.
Loosely
That hasn't been
discussed.
anything more than a
Right,
discussion.
but I just wanted you guys I wanted to make it clear that you guys have talked about that, and that's something that's on the table for you, right? The total allocated, I don't think maybe I put it on this page.
Now, the 2 million for broadband, just so we're all clear, that cannot come out of revenue loss.
As far as I know, it cannot.
I
Right,
was asking them.
okay. We can ask,
And where's
All I
two-
can always ask.
Where's 2 million come from, just out of my
No, I
curiosity?
mean, or.
That was
I mean,
the-
no one's requested
Okay,
it
so
yet.
nobody,
not 2
no,
million.
there's
That's
no
in
request
broadband
for it,
services-
Category,
Can
yeah.
broadband services come out of revenue loss?
right.
Right.
There
But
are
the only
also,
request we actually have on the books for broadband itself is the 50,000 from
Right.
Eastgate. That's
Right.
the only actual ARPA
Well, there,
That was
application we have.
but in talking to Nick today,
I get it, I'm talking about what's on paper
Oh, yeah.
that's been already asked.
right,
Gotcha.
is that, where is that?
And we got the same thing, I just got had that meeting,
Oh,
Recently
it's
where-
not on this sheet, it's from Bright, for Eastgate. Eastgate has a request.
They have a request, but we don't
Not
have it,
been submitted.
it's not been submitted, okay.
Correct.
So we haven't done anything yet.
correct,
Okay.
but there is an application in the
There's
portal,
an
that's all I'm saying.
application in the portal.
That's the only one we
So,
have in the portal.
These, there's also a 2.8 million roughly, it's on the second to the last page. That's the list of projects on hold. Those are what when we did the pause, these were some there were somewhere in the process that we had listed. Right.
where's
It's on
that
the
now? I'm sorry.
second to the last page,
Okay.
and you'll see
Oh, I
there's a
see.
heading, project on hold, and there's a total, all right? So these are projects that you sent off to have an approval on, and it is on there, the Bright Energy Innovators, that's 250,
No, well,
Oh, is that-
That's Bright versus Eastgate.
okay. But Eastgate's not on there.
No.
Okay.
No, it wasn't submitted.
Wasn't submitted, all right. These are all ones, though, that were requested by the commissioners, I believe, to be submitted as far as, attorney approval, right?
Well, I submitted,
Or they were submitted.
15 projects, and then there was 3 more that the commissioners wanted to ask about.
13.
Those were 18 total,
Okay.
and that would be 3.55.
Oh, you had it, okay.
Yeah, so
This is-
I actually just did that this morning.
Okay, all right.
So the ones that we submitted,
Now, here's the ones that Tanya responded, I'm sorry, were, on the sheet here, she gave an opinion on 5 of them.
Right.
Okay,
5.
she gave 5.
There's 5. So we have, a 2.8, but you say 3.5 because you had
If
some
you took
additional.
all of them.
If we took everything, that's, all right. I'm sorry about that.
Everything at full amount,
Right.
Yes, that's right.
Right,
And
okay.
those were just requests.
So,
right?
so I just wanted you to understand what isn't included, right? These are just the committed ones.
Correct.
Okay. So one of the things that we really tried to do on this is harden the soft numbers. We had a lot of conversations with, Bill Hart and, Mike. We also, with the sanitary engineers, and we hardened as much as we could. But one thing we did not harden, and it's still very soft, is the wing building demo. At this point, we have $2 million allocated. And that does look like it's going to be much higher than needed. We're currently at 200,000 as our share, but we left it there because we wanted to be very conservative in this because we don't know. We weren't able to get as many answers on that as we would have liked. We left it there. So there's a potential of 1.8 there, just so you know. And, talk again about, we talked a lot about the planning commission roof. That is going to be, an increase, she said 400,000 instead of,
297.
yeah, and I'm guessing it would be 430, including
Right.
the engineering.
Right.
And we will inquire about moving that over as a revenue loss, and whether that's potential for that. Just to remind you, this is a snapshot, and as you can tell, we had changes even after I finished this today, and there'll probably be more. That's part of why it is so hard to do this. We have
Right.
so many moving
This
parts.
is a living, breathing thing until it's completion.
Absolutely. So Are there any questions right now on the spreadsheet itself?
And
And
just
then
for
I'll-
an example, so the press understands when we talk about these soft numbers, I mean, give you an example. We had a public hearing on the Bezetta Water Project. We allocated over $1.5 million, I think, in ARP money for that project. That public hearing comes back that the people don't want that project, and it's unfundable. That $1.5 million is coming back into the pot.
Right.
So it's hard to account for those sort of things, you know,
Right.
that's what we're saying here. It's not that the money's missing, it's that money is committed, but we don't know if all that money's gonna be used or any of it's gonna be used. So that's where the guessing game comes in with some of this stuff.
Right.
I shouldn't say guessing.
No, don't say that.
I would say, that's where the prognosticating comes in.
Well, and as I think we can all clearly see too, without any due offense at all, we had an old auditor who was here for 20 years who left, we had a transition in March. You've got your way of looking at the spreadsheets and
Right.
doing things your way and overseeing even Mr. Masaki. With the accounting and the ledger of this thing, it's just different way, that's all. So in the transition, it was a little fuzzy at first, I'm seeing it a lot clearer right now.
Right.
And I thank you for that.
You're welcome. And I hope that you'll take my recommendations as kindly as you have my update. I do have a few, and again, they are just recommendations.
Good.
And, you know, I'm the auditor, I'm not a commissioner, and I don't wanna be a commissioner. So, but I do have, just after looking at some of this stuff, I have some thoughts and I wanna share them. So I would suggest that for now, you continue that pause. This will allow you to make some decisions, regarding moving those projects after, it'll allow us the time to get that information back to you, and also make you guys can start thinking about those decisions, about what you wanna move into the revenue loss category. Also, maybe some of this, particularly that large soft number that we were talking about, that may harden a little bit too, and it'll give you time for that. And you can also be kind of figuring out how you want to assess those remaining projects, because you guys really do need to come up with a way for prioritizing them. And as nice as it's been to play Wheel of Fortune, the old style Wheel of Fortune, where we kind of like, I want that, and I want the Dalmatian and all that, I think there has to be, particularly if you have priorities for certain things like broadband and township projects, and making sure that geographically we cover the whole county, you need to kind of come up with some kind of process on how you prioritize things.
And I agree with that 100%, Mauro, and I think, for what it's worth, we still need to invite the third commissioner to come to a workshop to do this with us,
Sure,
to allocate with the three of us.
sure.
And
He's always
if someone doesn't do it, it doesn't have to be a special meeting with the public, it could be done here at a workshop.
Sure.
And then we could say, okay, let's set aside this for this, this for this, this for this. If she doesn't wanna participate, we gotta move forward with this stuff on our own. I don't want that. I think she fairly needs to be at the table with us, but I can't drag her to the table and make her do it.
Nor can I.
And she can sit and criticize what we do, but the offer is there for her to be an equal part of this. And the only way we can legally do this is like we're doing now. She should be sitting right there next to Mr. Masaki right now, dealing with something like this, and she's not.
And then my second suggestion, right now, I don't know if you guys were even aware of it, but the applications continue to come in through the portal. We need to set an end date for that. And I would suggest September 1st, but I think you need to set in it, you guys need to figure out what you wanna do on that, and you need to publicize it, so everybody knows you guys will accept applications until this date. I don't think that it will come to it, but if for some reason you go through all the applications that are outstanding and you still have money left,
We can do
you
a
know,
round two.
you can do a round two, you can open up that portal again. But I think it really has to be closed, and it has to be publicized, people have to understand it and know it.
I agree.
And I think,
Agreed.
I would say September first is a good time. That's just, Mr. Masaki and I batted things around and we came up with that, and I think that's a good day. And then sometime after that, you need to,
I would ask Martha, I would say September 15th, and the only reason I'd say that is trustees meet at different times, and if it's something that the trustees need
Sure.
to know about, or the powers that be,
sure,
maybe it's a nonprofit, they're bored or whatever,
right.
we give them a month's notice. If we did
Again-
them now, we already missed everybody
again-
that would have to use
Again,
the
that's
first
up
of
to
the
you
month.
guys, if you guys want to do that today and set it as the 15th,
I'm fine
and
with
start publicizing it, your office start publicizing it as the 15th. That's fine.
I'd like to set it as the 15th, to
I'm fine
give
with
everybody a full month, more than a full month to get them in.
Right,
And that way, they can't say, well, we didn't meet this month, and we met in August. We already had our monthly meeting, and if they have their monthly meeting the first week of September, they
Sure.
still have time
got it.
to write it up,
Understood.
to be fairness to everybody.
And then sometime after that date, after the end date, right, then you start assessing all the projects that remain. And you guys also need to kind of decide if you guys want to send every single thing that comes your way to the attorney, like you've been doing, or if you want to, assess them to begin with, and kind of, you know, how you want to do that, if you want to continue it the way you've been doing it, or if you want to refine that as well. But you do need to then begin that process of assessing the projects remaining. You have over a year to finish appropriating this money, and a little over 3 years for the projects to be completed. I have those dates correct.
2 years after that, yeah.
Right. So I would say taking a few more weeks to get this right is not a bad thing.
And I would like to separate the request also as according to townships, nonprofits,
And that can be part of your assessment, is to do,
economy
is to
thing,
do
and then
those.
we can say, okay, we'll
Yeah,
allocate
right.
this much,
And
and
that's,
this much.
as I said,
And
you
then
guys
break
need
it
to
down
figure
from
out those priorities and how you wanna do it, but you need to figure it out, agree to it, and stick with it.
Right.
And then, when you are assessing the projects, you may wanna consider the length of time to complete the project as well. And the reason I'm saying this is you might wanna put aside some of the smaller, more quick projects to decide on once you have better numbers on the soft money. Just because if you have a project where you have to get the money allocated and it has to be done within 3 years, if you have a bigger one that you're definitely, this is something we wanna do, you wanna get that in the pipeline first, just because of the amount of time, because of the deadline to complete it, is all I'm saying. Just something to think about. But I also know you have other things to weigh. But I'm saying that if you've got somebody that comes to you and say they have even a, $100,000 project, but it's something that's gonna take a lot of time to finish up, you wanna maybe put them to the head of the line. Just my thought, only because, and especially if it's something everybody agrees on. You get $100,000 project from a township, everybody goes, oh, this is a great idea, we all wanna do it, put them in the front. Because if it's something that's gonna take a while, because we have that time.
Well, the other
to
ones
give.
we need to do are the ones that we may be a little unsure of on,
Mhm.
will it really happen, and are they gonna spend all the money? I
Right.
think we want those, that way we know if we have money left over before we run out of our deadline.
And I would also suggest some of the larger requests, that you maybe even have a meeting with the person that's making the larger request and find out if it's not already in the packet, how flexible are we on the numbers?
Right.
Can we help you find other funding? Right?
I'm all
There's lots of other grants and things out there, so it may be, they may have a nice project that's like a $250,000 project, and you guys can, well, we can do 125, but we can't do the rest of it. Help them work to cobble together something, right? That's not on there, but it's just one of the things that has come to my mind. But I do think you do need to look at length of time, just because we do have that timeline. It's out there, it's over 3 years, but you need to kind of look at that when you're figuring out what you're gonna approve first. as I've mentioned before, you need to be considering where geographically the money already has been allocated. The money already allocated has an impact, so that you, as you consider the remaining requests, you can do it fairly, because I know that that geography is important. I know to both of you, but particularly to Commissioner Malloy. I can work, Gary's already, volunteered this to me, but I can work on a map with him, so he'll have the things that he's doing or has, all the projects that are in the pipeline for him, and where they are impacted. He said he can do a map for me, and then I can, over top of that, I can look at what we've already allocated and, other than those projects, and see where it is, and we can create a map for you guys, if that's what you want. So you got, so we can do that for you guys, so that, and probably a listing too as well, in addition to that. So you guys can see where you've sent the money. So as you guys are starting after this September 15th, when you're assessing, you can look at that and go, hey, we've already got one over, we've spent an awful lot of money in Bloomfield or wherever. I'm not picking on Bloomfield. Roger Peterson, if you're listening, don't get mad at me. We've already spent, X amount of money. We've spent X amount of money that's gonna impact Vienna or whatever, and you guys can look at that, because I think that will be a visual reminder. So if you guys want me to do that, we will start working on that. I will start working on that with my staff.
I guess the other thing too, we need to look at that isn't on here is with the money we've already allocated, where are we within that deadline of things? Are we gonna hit, deadlines for what we cut the checks for already? Are we gonna spend the money before then?
I think
pressure.
I would say we're safe, but we can kind of do a line by line just to be sure.
Right.
And I can talk to Gary, 'cause that's,
Gary's
I think,
the one that's gonna
Gary's are the ones.
Well, like,
that
for
come to
example,
mind.
like Scott Street, I'll bring that up, we gave
Okay.
900,000.
Right,
And if there are houses that drop off, if people die, if they
right.
sell off,
And-
or whatever the case is, I don't want, and I'm adamant about this, I don't wanna just write a check for $900,000 in Newton Falls, not in today's day and age, as we're reading the paper. I wanna pay that as we need to ourselves,
Right,
and if they don't use all of that, I get the impression from the meeting is, they wanted all of it and they'll deal with it. No, it's gonna be, we're gonna pay it. If there's any left over, it's coming back to us, it's not going to them to be reutilized for anything else
so,
other than the project that we approved.
Mr. Masaki, the question I have for you is, if some of these requests for the engineers are things like engineering, so as long as that engineering is complete, does the project itself have to be complete? If, for those separate requests, let me try to get on. Great,
I read it as the completion of the project in
Okay.
3 years.
but I think some of what we're,
Funding the project.
right, and
Funding.
that's what I was gonna say, some of,
But if
because,
if the funding is going to, if you're right, if it's going toward the engineering, yes, but if it's going toward the actual project,
right, and
funding
that's,
source of that.
that's what I'm
We do
saying.
have some of those.
Right, my question was that, because, there's some that we're just doing engineering on,
Right.
and there's some that we're doing engineering in the project.
Right.
So, we definitely need to make sure that those timelines are nailed down,
Right.
and and Mr. Masaki and I can work on that.
Right. You're talking 3 years.
Right, so there is, my concern was, my bigger concern was making sure that, so say we do just engineering on a project, and we don't get the completion of that project done, it's with separate funds, right?
Yeah.
Other funds, that we don't have a problem with the money that we spend on
I
engineering.
wouldn't think there'd be a
Okay.
problem, because you're paying,
Right.
the product you're paying for was produced.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's kind of what my thought on that was, but, the only other thing that I had on here was, asking for the opinions from the outside attorney, which we are going to do, on moving the items. And I also I know that you guys have already said, we don't wanna spend anything from revenue loss on the sheriff's shortfall, but keep that in your back pocket and in your head as you make these decisions, that even though I know, I wasn't here, my, accountant was, and she said you guys made it pretty clear you didn't wanna spend ARPA on the sheriff, but just keep it in mind, back pocket, that's all. Any questions for me?
Ray, she gets a star at the top of her paper for this?
I
have no control with the placement.
Give her an A+.
I know you were adamant that you wanted a legible, readable,
Yes,
broken
yes,
down thing, and I
yes.
think
This,
if you have a copy of this you gave us,
Yeah,
you get it
he's
read.
got that. The only thing I will say, there's typos on my notes, but, so if you have any questions on the notes, yeah, absolutely. I'm actually may fix my notes for the copy for the other commissioner, and I'll get it to you.
She has them already.
She has, well then,
I think
she'll survive.
this is fantastic, Martha.
Yes, thank
Fantastic.
you.
Jim, thank you,
Thank you.
and you guys both did a fantastic
Great,
job on this.
and, you know, you
Shaver,
guys,
I'm sorry, I mean, you heard what we heard here today, and I'm hopeful with all this stuff now, and I can see you were on the page in the
Right.
back here of approved and waiting for us to flip the switch again,
right,
so,
So my understanding is there's a pause.
yeah.
How long will, do I have to announce myself?
Yes,
I'm Terry Shavers with Braceville Community Foundation.
yes,
So my understanding is there's a pause,
yes.
and, can I ask how long the pause will be?
Well, I think right now, unfortunately, I think the only thing we could say is that September 15th deadline for them to all come in, and then, as we reallocate how much we're gonna do in each position, or each thing, then we unpause them all, and you're not the only one, I got calls today from, two of them today, and one of them yesterday from other ones that are pending, like, hey, what's going on with this, you know, we've been waiting a long time. So I guess the best answer we can give you is that, you know, that you are already approved, you don't have to go to Tanya, so you're already one step ahead of
you have the legal.
anything that's gonna come in, or anything we need to send her, you're already there. So when we allocate and say, here's how much for nonprofit, which would be where I would fit you in, here's how much we have for townships, which may include some of that too, and here much, what we have for economic development or whatever, then we can look at the nonprofits that we have and say, out of this here, let's go ahead and fund these. There aren't very many nonprofits, I can tell you that. United Way and you are the biggest ones. The other ones, from looking at the sheet here.
Right, it's right.
Right. Well, Bright, I would consider as kind of economic development.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I would, Community Family Outreach Complex, that would be Bishop Herons. Braceville Community Center. Harriet Upton Association, which is a smaller one. And then even the Niles and Vienna Historical Societies, those are both smaller ones. So you and United Way are kind of at the top of the pack with that. The one that I know we have some others, you know, like that Kelly Pavlik thing, and, I think there's still one from Pastor Johnson, maybe? Did anything with his yet, Todd? So what I would like now, Mr. Masaki, also, for you guys to work on, here is what we have that we already got. I'd like another one of these, of the projects submitted but not on any of these sheets yet, ones that are still submitted.
We can do that.
If we can have a separate one, then we have a big picture of all of them. We have,
Absolutely.
here's what we've already looked at, and then we have, here's what's out there to look at still,
And
and then we can
will be-
update that as the new
Right, I was just
applications
gonna say,
come in.
that's a moving target.
Yes.
I just had a couple more things. First of all, I wanted to make sure, 'cause you complimented me and Mr. Masaki, that I recognize Christie for helping us greatly with kind of refining the spreadsheet. And a huge kudos to Shara. She did an excellent job again. We had so many different versions, and every time we asked her, myself or Mr. Masaki, she was right there helping us. So she's done a good job. I wanna make sure I note that. The other thing is, when I talked about you guys meeting with some of these folks with the larger requests, it might not be a bad idea to be telling folks too, as we talk to them, or even asking that question, have you looked at other funding? Right? Because a lot of folks, particularly some of our smaller, newer nonprofits, this isn't what they do, right? So, there's a lot available other than us, for some of these projects, and not that we shouldn't, I wanna make sure we help us, but we wanna help.
And I thought today, just looking at Warren's still got millions, that are sitting,
Right.
trying to figure out what to do with too.
And that was another thing I didn't put on here, but I think, and I don't even have this list, but probably Mr. Masaki does, we need to look at where other places got money, because we've got, I know Cortland is the big one, right? Cortland got money, and then they're asking for money from us. And I think that, to me, is, I don't wanna use the word double dipping.
When we rate things,
Right, I
and
think that's important.
Gary said it best for us. You know, he brought up, he said, Cortland wants us to give them some of our ARPA money to keep their water rates down. We have our own water rate customers.
Plus, they've
that-
already got ARPA
that we
money.
need to consider first and foremost. Not that it's a slam at Cortland, it's just, yeah, it's,
Right, we need to, I mean, as you said, townships didn't get this money, so we need to be fair to them, but we need,
Well, they got less money.
They got money.
Yeah, they got,
A few dollars.
yeah, but not in the same way
No,
that
no,
the
the
state
volume,
did,
of
right?
volume of
And
money.
so we wanna make sure that we treat and again, you know, I'm a
absolutely
township girl.
geographic, and
I'm a township girl, so that's it.
I want everyone to get a piece of the pie, fairly.
We're already gonna have a little bit of updates on this even today. How often do you wanna be updated on these spreadsheets?
Weekly,
Okay,
between now and
Yes,
September.
please.
we're good.
Weekly, keep these things moving, and by next week, if you can have the sheet of here's all the other ones we have, so if someone calls
Do you
and says,
think you can do that?
where am
That's
I?
gonna
I
be
can look
by
at
Mr.
this, or I can look at
Misaki.
that and say, I don't even see you, or here you are.
Well, this is the latest. Yeah, this one, I have a copy here.
But
Is
does that have these other ones mixed in with it?
Is that the one I just gave them?
No.
No, this is different, this is my sheet.
Okay, let's
Update it, you know,
update
Yeah.
with what we've got,
Okay.
okay, so that
hey Gwen, do you have some, say your name again too for the record.
Favors, Bristol Community Foundation. Now, in speaking about what Martha did today, which, yes, I have.
This is it.
Wonderful job. Thank you for what you do. One thing that we have done as a nonprofit, we are, in collaboration with Trumbull. And that's why our we did ask them to be fiscal agency, so we will show fiscal responsibility. We have been networking with other, groups and things to ask questions, and they usually tell us to ask. And so far, you know, there's not, everybody's vying for money. But, so like, since this was one African American in the county, there is huge, with talking to people, Kent, Salem, all over the counties and other places. Time is of the essence. We would help bring. So we, when we do ask for that amount, you know, consider me our, when you are.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it, that wasn't an intent to, first of all, but just to clarify, I don't get to consider, they do.
I totally understand, but I just wanted to put that out there, you know, in the beginning. I'm gonna try to fight for it as much as.
I understand, and I appreciate that, and that's why yourself, Bishop Herron, he's been in here a few times with, I mean, passionate, great projects. The United Way, she's been in here a couple times. You know, I'm hoping when the dust settles with this, we look at that pot and what we have, there's more than enough for everybody. If not, I can tell you we'll be fair, and it's how we shave it down equally with everybody to make sure that everyone, you know, I think we saw it today with the community center. You know, we're not gonna pick one township over another township. What I'd like to see is, here's what they're all entitled to, and let's give that equal amount to most all of them, same with the nonprofits. Now, some of the nonprofits don't need what you need, and that's okay. You know, we're not gonna tell them to beef theirs up, but at the same time, if we shave down proportionally, we'll do for everybody. So, we're gonna be fair, you're right in the process with us. I mean, you guys might as well punch a clock on Tuesdays when you come in, 'cause you've been in this as long as I have, and you probably understand this stuff as much as I do right now too. So, I appreciate that.
And we do appreciate you.
Yep, and we're not, like I said, it just happened when we got that news a few weeks ago, and we had just got the thing back from the attorney. You were literally this close from us being on an agenda item, and the wheels came to a halt right then, and I felt horrible, because nobody has been as diligent and active as you two have been. So that's a testament to the cause and your group. You know, you were represented well. There's nobody that can lobby for you any better than the two of you are. And at least with me, that will be taken into consideration when we finally get it to, on paper with a number and a vote. So, that's all we can do. Okay, Ray, any questions?
Just double checking, we'll remain on pause until at least September 15th.
We will still continue to take applications until then, but as far as cutting checks,
Right.
unless we have a emergency that comes up between now and then, I would not foresee us
Well,
cutting
and
any checks
we
until after then.
we may cut some checks
We cut
that
checks.
are already
Well,
allocated.
Yes,
Right.
but as
But we're
far
not
as
going to-
appropriating,
We're not gonna
Right.
do anything more.
right,
Okay.
and I think that's what's fair for everybody, and like I said, I cannot stress enough, I want all three commissioners to have a say in this, and
We'll be stressed.
the door is open for it. We all have the same information now, or we all
Yes.
will.
Lisa gave her the packet, Commissioner Frenchco, every single
And-
time that I speak, she gets a packet.
Her input on this is valued as much as mine or Morrow's when it comes to serving the citizens with this, so I don't wanna discredit anything, but we're not gonna hold the process up either.
Right.
We're gonna move forward as legally we are allowed with the consensus of the Board of Commissioners to do so. I'm just laying that out there, so if there is no participation and the finger pointing starts, of why'd you do this and not this, and you should have given this group more than this, there's the seat, and we put her name on it.
Yeah.
Right there if we want, we'll reserve sign right in front of it. Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second,
Mr. Cantala Mesa,
Yes.
Mr. Malloy,
yes.
Ms. Frenchco.